All right, here we have a Volvo Penta DP dual prop Outdrive, and as you can see right down here, it's been leaking some oil over the winter. So I am going to take it completely off the boat because I'm going to change the bellows too. They are torn. Got some spider webs here. The bellows. The bottom bellows isn't bad, but the top bellows is torn. So I am going to take that apart, replace that bellows, check the gimbal bearing. Check the gimbal bearing, replace the upper bellows. The bottom bellows don't really need to be there. They are just to make sure the exhaust ends up going out through here. They have holes in them anyways from the factory, so that's not a big deal. But I am going to replace those that upper bellows and probably grease, or that universal joint. I'm going to grease it. I'm going to check it, and if it's bad, I'm going to replace it. And then I'm going to redo the seals on this. So since it's leaking, I don't know exactly what I'm getting into, but I'm pretty sure I have the book to do this. So I checked all over YouTube, and there's nothing on YouTube about this. A dual prop, the SX, there's tons of stuff. Nothing on the dual prop, so I'll take you with me, and I hope this helps you. Okay, so this nut on the back is a 30 millimeter, and look what I found in here. Apparently, this prop got into some rope at some point, and that may be the reason why it is leaking now. I can't tell whether it's the seal right there or not just yet, but we will see. I'm gonna take it off anyways. I'm guessing. I wouldn't imagine that this had anything to do with why it's leaking, because it was all around the outside, not the inside where the seal is. So we'll see. I'll take this next prop off. I'm gonna have to make a special tool. It's basically a friend of mine that I bought the boat off of. He has another one of these now, but he made a special tool out of a grease tube. The tube of grease for a grease gun is the perfect size, and you just cut slits in it. I'm gonna probably use a piece of steel pipe and cut slits in it. So that's where I'm at next. Okay, so I got the second prop nut off. This is what I did. I used a piece of 2-inch ABS plastic and just cut some slits in it. It had enough to do it. It didn't want to do it really willingly, though. I drilled a 1/2-inch hole there so I could use 3/8 drive extensions to put through it to turn it. It worked. I don't think it had a whole lot more. If it would have been on there any tighter than it was, I don't know that it would have done it, but it did. So you could see. Let's see. Take this off. Oh my. Okay. Now, if you look at that, here's the seal. Now, I don't keep this boat. I keep it in the water, but not, it's on a lift all the time. So, so hopefully this shouldn't have a whole lot of water in it, because I only used it a few times last year. And that seems to have just self-destructed. Pretty bad. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out and drain it. See what it looks like. Okay, so as you can see, no water in here. Just not a whole lot of fluid left. So, well, maybe there's a little tiny bit of water, but all in all, the fluid's dark and needed changed anyways. I'm glad that I don't keep this thing in the water, because it would have been full of water and probably ruined this rear end. So I'm still going to pull it off of there to change the bellows and maybe the gimbal bearing and universal. But I'm going to let it drain first. As you can see, it's just pretty dark. I haven't done this in probably 5 years, so it's time. I'm going to order the parts and get this moving. Once I get it off of here, that is. Okay, so I'm getting ready to pull this off. I took the 3 bolts out on that side, which are, what size are they? I took the 3 bolts out on each side. They are 5/8 on 3 on this side, 3 on the other. I disconnected the shifter cable right here. Right now it's still in reverse, which is fine. I could shift it now without anything. But this little guy that threads onto there was 14.5 turns in. So now I know that. So now it should be, now if you're looking in here, there's a little bolt that's just to hold the shifter linkage on. So it should be ready to come off. I am going to probably put a board between right here and right here and then use the hydraulic rams to push it off and get it moving. As I push it up, or as I raise it up, it should push that out. So we will see if that works. And I got these loose already. I couldn't only get one nut to come loose on this one and one on that one. So I will just have to slide this cylinder out that way, and that cylinder out that way, and it'll work. I'm going to take this out the whole way, so then, you know, it's disconnected, and then that'll stay connected up there. I just loosened it up so I can slide it side to side if I need to. So time to cut a board and put it in there and see what happens. Okay, so I got it off. I made a little stand. There's 16-inch long on the top, 13 on the sides, and 18 on the bottom, so there was a little overlap to mount it to the Harbor Freight 1,000-pound furniture dolly. Now, all the universals, both these universals feel pretty good. They feel nice and tight. So I'm going to grease them. But that bearing, I cannot move by hand. It's the gimbal bearing, so I'm going to be replacing that. Along with probably this shaft seal. I feel like it's, I don't know. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to take this cover off. Since I'm going to have this up on the workbench to replace that bottom seal, I'll probably do that top seal too. And then the bellows. So, and I'll have to replace that O-ring there. So now it is down to ordering parts. Yep. All right, I am back to working on this Volvo Penta. It turns out it is a SX Outdrive, SX Duoprop Outdrive, one of the first models after Volvo Penta bought OMC. So it's really pretty much a OMC Outdrive with the Volvo Penta name. So I went and talked to my neighbor, and he has been working on boats for pretty much ever. And he gave me a lot of good pointers on this. I'm going to share them with you right now. This lip seal, let me turn the flash on so it's a little bit bright. The Duoprop, this is a dual seal, and so is this shaft. That's a dual seal there also. But he said that to get the carrier bearing assembly out, which is this part, that you have to, you see that little tab right there? There's one on each side. You got to bend those tabs out. And then he said he had a special tool. He made it. I looked all over the internet. I couldn't find a special tool for that. But I was looking for Volvo Penta special tools, not OMC. So that might be the reason why. But he said that my neighbor also, that he gave that tool to my other neighbor. So if I can't do that without having to take the carrier bearing out, I'll have to borrow that tool. But he gave me another tip on how to do it. He said that I needed to get some long drill bits, and that I can go basically at an angle into this seal here and drill through it, and then put a tiny bolt in 4 locations around here. And I should be able to, that's a dual seal, so I'll have to go through the first seal into the second one, and then put a bolt through it, and it should back those out. Now, that lip is extraordinarily small, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that, but I am going to try, and if it's working, I'll show you what I'm doing. If not, then you will see this coming apart. So I'm going to start working on that, and if that is working, I will show you how. All right, I've got 3 holes. Maybe I should have gone 4, but I spaced them out weird. So we're going with 3. Now, I'm going to use my impact to just give it like 2 taps, 2 taps, 2 taps, and keep going around, because I don't want to strip this out. If I strip it out, then I'm back to square one. So I got to be gentle with it, and I might put 2 more in just to give me that much more. I don't know. Maybe 2 more. Hold on. Okay, so attempt number 2. I moved away from the screws, and I moved to a much worse idea. This is a spoon, sharpened spoon on the end of an air hammer. I just started a little spot right there. I honestly don't know if this was someone else's, if I would take these risks like I am, but this is mine, and I trust the things I do typically. So, and then I drove a pick in here a little bit. At once I had it spread apart, and I got it to bend, and I'm going to keep working this. It's moving now, so I just need to work around it and get that out. It's going to take a little while. It's kind of a pain with this camera right in my face, but I've just got a variety of little picks. There we go. And you saw it. There's the first one. Pretty bad shape. It wasn't really hard to get out once I moved past the other stuff. So let me show you. I don't know if you could see it, but here's the new seal. And this forwards, or the forward seal, goes the opposite way. So it would be flipped around. So the spring is on the inside, and then the aft one, the spring will be on the outside. So it'll go like this, and the front one will be flipped around. And let's see if I can flip this around, and it'll look like that facing that way. So I don't know if you could see in there, but that's what that looks like. So I'm going to need to try to get into this one. I'm going to try to go through the drill holes and maybe get a curved pick. Like there's this drill hole right here. This curved pick in here. And maybe try to get this pulled out that way. That's my game plan. But see how it's just slightly curved. So I'm going to work at that. And see if I can't get this out. Might try to drill it hair bigger. I'm not sure just yet how I'm going to go about it, but you'll see what I do. Just driving that pick in there here. I need a flathead. Well, Look how much that bent. These are low quality picks. They're from Harbor Freight. Let me get some snap-ons out. Snap-on. All right. Oh, jeez. I think I might get a slide hammer and tap it. Looks like it moved. Give it another tap. So, slide hammer, hooked pick did it. But here's another way. If you don't have a slide hammer, the slide hammer is only like probably 25 bucks at Harbor Freight. But if you don't have the slide hammer, grab a piece of rope and put a some sort of weight, anything weighted at the end where you can just, tie it on to here, and then you can just thrust it back to pop it out. So there is changing both of the seals without taking the whole thing apart. And you could see right there, that's what I'm saying, the spring side goes into that. Well, I'm going to just spray that out with alcohol, clean it up real well, and then I will see. That's the problem. I don't know if you can see right there, but there's a little mark on the back. It shouldn't hurt. I would try to do it this way. Drill holes into it and pull it out with the picks instead of using the screws, because the screws, you could see that shiny part. It kind of pushed on the metal right there. So I am going to go ahead and clean this up, and then I'm going to find some sort of pipe that matches these almost perfectly, so I can drive them back in with the pipe. Since these shafts are in the way, I'm going to have probably a 2-inch pipe. I think a 2-inch pipe would do it. I will see, but I will find a piece of PVC, and then I'll drive it back in with the piece of PVC. Flip the outboard one over, drive it in until it's a little beyond flush. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one, the other Outdrive, and should be good. Good to put it back together and service it up. And then I'll make a bellows video, bellow and gimbal bearing video, because they are bad also. This is interesting. I'm pulling the aft, they're the second prop, and you could see that the spring was here to wrap it around, and also on this one the spring was they're both facing the same way. I can only imagine that was factory. I can't imagine that someone replaced these at some point. I could be wrong, but that is how I'm going to put them back in, with the spring foot both facing aft, because I've had this boat at least 7 years, and it's been good to this point. And that's the seal that failed, not these ones. So they're going to both be facing aft for that. Okay, so I used on the first on this first one I showed you, where the hell did it go? On the first one I showed you, I said it was faced out like that, and I thought the second one also was, but that was not the case. I don't know if it was a special seal or I just wasn't looking at it right, but on the inside it had the spring, and so I basically had to tear this one apart. It looked horrible. Tearing it apart, I couldn't get to it anyway with the picks, so I had to drive a pick in 4 spots. I don't know if you could see that, the little where I drove the pick in there, I drove the pick in there to just bend the seal in, and now I'm going to work on getting it out. But that's how I'm going to do this one. And I am going to put the first one spring in because I believe that is the correct way, not what I thought and told you a minute ago. So I'm going to be back at it. Okay, so let me get you set up. I couldn't find a correct size piece of PVC or anything that made me happy to do this seal install. So I am going to use, I have a flat faced punch. It is size 3/16. Here is the seal. And I'm just going to start the seal. And then I'm just going to be nice and gentle. Give it a little bit. Well, let me start the seal a little better than that. There we go. Just starting now, I'm just going to work it around. Okay. That looks pretty well seated. Grab another one. Okay, so here is the seal that I was actually looking at. I did this wrong. I'm not afraid to say it. So I'm going to have to pull this seal back out. But I do have another 807, which is that one. So I'm going to pull that seal out, put the right one in, and then put the 807 facing aft like it's supposed to be. That is a 853-808. I have a spare one of those too. Just so happens, kit I ordered has both of these, 807 and the 808. So I'll pull that back out, which is going to be a pain, and then put the right seal back in. Where is the old seal? Oh, there. So it looks like, yeah, this side goes in from what I'm seeing here, I think. Hold on. Yeah, definitely the metal looking part goes in because you could see that these are chunked towards the outside. So metal side in, right back apart. All right, so that's done now. The seals are correct. Now I'm going to drive the back seals in with the same method. That worked real well for this, just tapping around it and driving it in. Didn't mess up the seal. The seal still looks very, very good. So I am going to do the same thing, just tap around it and send it home. Also, both of the aft seals are the same. There's not two different ones like this smaller one. So they're exactly the same. Nothing to worry about there. Okay, so these seals are in. Spring in first on the first one. Spring out on the second one. You can't really see the spring anymore on this one, but it is out. So this tool that I made for removing the one prop nut, I used this to set both of those bigger O-rings. They were bigger seals. They wouldn't start as easy as these smaller ones. So I used this as to drive them on flush, and then I tapped them the rest of the way around with the punch, and everything looks good. So I am going to change this seal because this does a lot of moving, and I feel like it might be not a lot of moving, but I feel like it might be beat. So it looks like it's beat from what I saw earlier. I'm going to change that seal and then service this thing up, and then it's going back on. All right, top seal. There's the gears. You can see the gear looks real nice. So does that one. Or that's a shifter. That's where the shifter. So down, I'm guessing, I don't know. Down, maybe reverse. Up, maybe forward. I honestly don't know for sure. But here's the shift cable or shift linkage. So this is, I'm going to take this out, and then I need to remove that, which I don't know how exactly to do that just yet. I don't know if I have to drive this little pin out. Let me see. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to take this off right here and then drive that little pin out far enough to get this out, and then it'll slide out. And then I'll change that O-ring also. This is just stuff. I mean, I have it all apart. I might as well do it. Yeah. Okay, so I changed the seal on that, and what I found out was the paw that makes it go up and down, it apparently is oriented. I don't know. I had it in one way, and it wouldn't go. Would not go. I couldn't move these at all. Not one bit. It was seized up. I couldn't shift up and down. I took it out. I put it back in how it was. Thought maybe something was just jammed. Still couldn't do it. Took it out again. Flipped it over. Went no problem. So I don't know if the back of that shit. I don't know. But pay attention. Whatever way that comes out, make sure it goes back in. Possibly. I don't know. Might help you. Might not. Anyways, it's back together. I serviced it to full, and I had to take that apart, so I'm gonna have to put a little more back in. But you service it through that little plug right there. Service it up. It took 2 quarts, just shy of 2 quarts, and now this is ready to go back on. I just need to grease the universals. There's 3 universal joints that I'm going to have to grease. And then I'm going to go change the bellows. That'll be a separate video if you want to watch that. Thanks for watching. Hope this video helps you. Please subscribe because that helps me out. And it's free.